I'm Stephen Martin, and you are listening to Growing Earth Culture. In this podcast, we're going back to the garden. We're going to talk about wild culturing in the garden this time of year after your main crops have mostly been harvested out in the early fall. We're going to look at and talk about harvesting the abundant wild seeds generated by wild culturing. Mostly for food, but also you can be collecting these seeds to spread them around to other places. The footage that you're going to look at is a selection from the South Garden series that's available through our website. These two plants, Amaranth and Plantain, are 2 of 50 of the plants that I talk about in that series. I hope you enjoy it. It is literally the last day of summer. It is September 20th, and as you can see by the sad state of my friends here, we've had multiple frosts, maybe half a dozen. I'll be showing you more footage of things around. So now we come into the seed and the root time. So you've long since gathered most of your greens, with the exception of kale and the collards, cabbages and all those. But for the most part, the greens are done. Even the fruit is mostly in now. There's a few late apples and Asian pears and a few things that can handle the real light freezing, heavy frost, which we've had multiple times. So I'm kind of at the stage now, we've had a few sunny days, so these are nice and dried out, and also the evening primrose. So I'm absolutely surrounded by both of these. This is in the corn and beans patch, so we've had quite a few views of this. Oh yeah, right, no beans in this particular one because of the tendency to mold, but there could easily be corn and beans here. And then there was the pre-harvest, so before things got going. There's as things get going, the first weeding, you're harvesting, and then there's the post-harvest. So long after the corn's all been harvested, this is a very short season. Watanabe corn, so it was harvested by the end of August. So it's been a good few weeks, and these things have had lots of time and space to finish, all these seed plants. So I'll give you some closer shots, but just in general, this is the red amaranth. They produce quite a lovely, slightly larger than the wild amaranth seed. I'll juice them up for you here. So here's this loveliness. You get them all loose out of their hulls and kind of get. So you can see this lovely, shiny. You can see they're not all mature, but they're pretty close. And the birds are really loving them. And the weather's beaten the seeds out of them, and you can tell they're not going to get any more life of this season. They're done. All the leaves are toast, everything. They've just been draining their stalks for the last few days, and the seeds are ripening. You can leave them in a pile and let them ripen for another few days, or you can hang them all with sheets under them. I'm going to show you, though, a good way to harvest, because you want to get it nice and close to them, because the more they're shaking around, or the more you have to travel with them and you bump into a few other plants on the way out or something, you're going to lose tons of the seed. I kind of like them in this corner of the garden. I don't want them in the whole garden. I have, as I've said many times, 50 self-seeding plants. And they can't all be everywhere. So there's certain places where things like to be. This is where our gray water from our laundry also comes into the garden, all eco soaps and all that stuff. And of course, the plants thrive on that, the moisture, especially in a year like this year. So here we go. You can see these lovely Jerusalem artichokes in the background, and the apple trees, which have already been picked. This used to be all peas along here. Now it's radishes mostly. And again, it's a multi-season, multi-layered garden. It's not like you just grow beds of one thing like corn and that's it. There's a real complex dance that goes on, and we're trying to give you that image as much as possible. As I keep cutting, I keep thinking more and more things to say. One of the things that I'm always doing is if I don't want the seeds of this particular plant to move in a particular direction, then I'm harvesting more heavily. So towards the camera there in the center of the garden, I'm harvesting more heavily, but then if I want them to spread out, like it's all just grass and kind of, it's a wild mixture of plants behind this big one here, but by leaving it, birds are going to land on it, the wind's going to shake it, and the plants are going to be heavily seeded in that direction. It's just leaving one plant. And again, just to reiterate, all these are full of seeds too. So it's not like there won't be seeds to perpetuate them, but there'll be a heavy load of seeds, and then over at this other edge, I'll leave another one, directing the flow of the plant over time. Welcome, greetings. It's really bright sun, beautiful, beautiful afternoon. And technically fall. The old corn leaves rattle their old song, their old talk from days gone by, and the corn's all long gone. But I was here picking through because I've been real busy, so I haven't had time. And then it rained for about 6 weeks, but now it hasn't rained for a week, and so I thought I'd go see what was in the sweet corn patch, which is always planted with a dry bean. So again, corn bean is about the pattern for this one. So between every one of these corn stalks, there's a bean plant, and on every bean plant, even now, having kind of not been too on top of it, but you can see they don't look so good in some way. They look a little bit kind of dark and maybe even moldy on the outside. But these are Five Nations, and man, they're here to stay. I don't know if you can see that, but they're in beautiful, beautiful condition. So they finished and dried enough before these last frosts. We've had a week of pretty hard frost, and it's pretty hard to see. If I shake the plant, sometimes you can see the beans. It's one of the ways that I see them, because they're hard to see. They blend right in, but everything that's off the ground, high and dry, really, really lovely. Just from that, kind of week of no rain after many, many weeks of rain. And it's such a pleasure to go through here and poke through. And sometimes they're right in front of you and you can't even see them, so you gotta slow right down. Kind of be looking, seeing all the main stalks and following them up. And, because between the corn and between all the other herbaceous plants like the cleavers and amaranth and dandelions and some of these Asian greens that I've let self-seed that are really lovely, kind of a choy type thing. There's wood sorrel, lamb's quarters, lots and lots of seed of different kinds, arugula, and then in the next bed over there's the lima beans, the Polish limas, which are still finishing. They're beautiful. So anyways, I didn't hear they were right in front of me even more. So I just wanted to share a bit of this bounty of polyculture going on. So in the corn patch, just I'm only halfway through. It was quite lovely. Thank you so much. This was not a great year for plantain. It's very, very dry, so not tons of seed around. But here you can see an assortment of seeds. It's hard to make out, but this one is slightly green. If you gently pull, nothing comes off. This one is completely finished. It's brown, a little bit more spiky. When you pull effortlessly, the whole amount comes off. I'm going to blow the chaff off so you can actually see the seed. So the seed's the darker stuff. They're in the cracks between my fingers. This plant's very much related to psyllium. So this seed in your seed mixture will definitely facilitate movements and make you regular. I won't be collecting plantain this year. I've collected quite a bit other years and been much more productive, so I'm going to leave it alone this year. But this, lovely medicinal edible leaves and then edible seeds. Well, I think I spent quite a bit of time talking about amaranth already, but here we go again. Anyways, very prickly when it's finished. And really this is the best time to get it. I think I was showing you kind of the earliest point at which, when maybe 50% of it is brown, you can get it. But just from this one little pinch of a flower head, just kind of blowing away the chaff there, letting the wind blow it away, trying to loosen it up as much as I can. Now you can see, compared to the other amaranth, it is a smaller seed, but no doubt just or more as potent. And that's just from one little pinch. And there's a huge number of plants in this area, so I'm going to harvest them out too, and we'll process them together. So here I am. I'm just finishing up this amaranth harvest. So this is the end of the season. I grew arikari beans in here before and at the very start of when they were growing. We did a big horsetail harvest throughout this amaranth greens and lamb's quarters greens. Grew all the beans. There's lots of other herbs in here. There's tons of primrose and shepherd's purse, mullein, lots of other herbs in this polyculture that we're growing with the beans. And then the beans are all finished, and then the amaranth really came on in kind of the last month since the beans are finished, and now they're finished. And so just to give you a kind of a range of like really finished, this would be like 60-70% brown, which means it's really finished. I'm going to show you maybe like this one here beside it is kind of maybe 20% brown or something. But you're also kind of looking at the plants. I don't know how well you can see them, but they look pretty toasted. And it's not even so much frost, they're just done. They've sucked all the energy out of their plants and put it into their seeds at this point. Because they're an annual, so they haven't sucked it back into their roots, like the primrose or the mullein or some of these other ones here. They're just finished. And so you want to collect them with the clippers. You want to hold the heads so that they don't shake too much, because the more you shake them when you harvest them, the more it's gonna fall out. The seeds are gonna fall out. And really, I just go for the big stuff. I probably leave at least 20%, and then that's, for the birds. We don't have bird feeders here on the farm, but we have a huge diversity of birds, and it's because there's a huge diversity of plants. So a lot to feed on in terms of the plants, and also the diversity of insects that feeds on the plants brings more birds. So your bird feeder is this kind of isolated way to kind of pump up one aspect of the ecology, which is birds, because you want to see them. But if you do this, it's feeding everything, and the richness brings the birds, and then you get to see them without really feeding them, and kind of, in a sense, kind of tricking them into being there for you. Actually have an abundance here, and it isn't reliant on me. So 3 crops, again, the pre-crop, and then the beans, and then the post-crop. And I'm going to show you 2 other things, just like how much is actually in these. Because the seeds are pretty small, and you're kind of like, okay, well, that's a lot of work for such small seeds, but you have to understand that I've already harvested this field out. This is the last patch of it. Even just here, there's probably 100 or 200 of these heads, right? And we got a plate and a little sieve, and I'll show you. It's not super dry, but okay. So you can see, just from this one head, it may be, a tablespoon? A tablespoon of grain, or something like that, right? So that's pretty incredible. Times that by 100, times it by the rest of the field, which is maybe 500 or something like that. And so on and so on. And you've got a liter of amaranth, super high quality food. A liter of amaranth is like, I don't know, at least 4 liters of flour or something like that. It's very high potency, if not 8 times the nutritional value. And it was for free. There was no output on my part. In fact, I weeded them out, and that only helped them in the end, because there was a certain amount that were left. The beans got to finish, and then they got to really thrive. So again, it's just dancing with these things in the right way, and can be very productive. Just leaving the garden with this pile of evening primrose. This is probably 20-30 pounds at least, and it'll turn out that a quarter of this is the weight of the seed, so it's pretty incredible. I'm going to process it though. I'm going to show you how easy it is to get the seed out once it's all dry. So harvesting it when it's dry is like an essential part of any of the wild seed collection. Don't even try it if it's wet, because Unless you have fantastic facilities for drying it and stuff, it's not going to work out for you. It's just going to go moldy. And even if it goes slightly moldy, you're not going to want to use it for food. You know, you can save the seeds and replant them and stuff. It's not a waste, but just to say, dryness is essential. Thank you for listening. For upcoming events and information on the Sacred Gardener School and courses, please check us out at sacredgardener.ca.